So that song's great. The Infanta was just, when we finally got all that stuff layered on there, I was like, that is amazing.
At the same time, you know, I had sort of been in another band before I had started that band with my sweetheart, Adam, Norfolk and Western, and I got so busy with the Decemberists that Norfolk and Western pretty much went on the back burner. I started to feel like maybe I wasn't on the right path for me, and it was the hardest decision I've ever had to make. It was so excruciating.
As it happens, the only person that I did know in the band was Rachel, the former drummer, who had just gone on to other things. So yeah, it was kind of. What's your connection to her? I've known her forever.
So you go way back with John.
I do, yeah.
And if anybody was to pass the torch.
Totally, it felt so right to pass the torch to him. Yeah. It really did.
She had moved on after the recording of Picaresque, so they were ready to go, you know, do the whole thing, go tour and promote and all that.
Colin called me and asked me if I was free at this block of time to tour.
Petra was up to do some stuff, and she ended up doing that whole Picaresque tour with us, which was cool.
And I said, okay, I'll play violin and sing. It would be fun to go tour.
Because it was our third release, and I think they had a lot more at stake in it, I'm not sure if it's just the band growing or the press was better done or just more of it, whatever. It was a much bigger tour. All of a sudden we're playing Fillmore, which was like basically a childhood dream of mine, you know.
How do I take the touring? I'm getting better at it.
Give me all your drugs.
Well, I think at Picaresque, I think in many ways we became more emboldened on stage. I think that was the first time that the first tour off of Picaresque. It's interesting if you compared the first show on the Picaresque tour to the last one that happened in the fall. There was a huge arc. Like, I discovered so much about performing on stage that I just started to figure out earlier on, and I think a lot of that had to do with just being comfortable on stage. And also getting to a point where I was able to have a sense of humor about the music itself.
I was meant for stage.
I have my own way of doing, adding something to it, hopefully.
Like John, you can't hold him back. I remember when he first was introduced to us, and I was telling him about the band. I'm like, we kind of like to be silly on stage, and he's like, really? I'm like, yeah. He's like, awesome.
When it comes to getting in front of people and sort of, you know, acting out, I'm fine with that, you know.
I think we kind of let him loose. Like, he's never had a chance to run around and jump on a bass player's back, you know, before on stage. It's sincere too.
I've appreciated watching people on stage having a good time and being goofy and not taking themselves too seriously. So that's really what we had tried to do.
I've been in a lot of bands and played a lot of shows, and it's really fun to have fans. That's the first thing.
I'm absolutely surprised that we have fans, yes, and I'm absolutely surprised people gave a shit.
It's hard for me to compare to other bands, but it really does seem like they're kind of nicer and cooler and more like connect to us in a way that is like sincere and not like creepy.
I think we attract those silly people. I mean, silly in a good way, people who aren't afraid to express themselves.
Some young people come up to me and tell me that I've inspired them so much that they start learning the violin, and that's always really touching.
And their level of dedication is high, these fans, which is amazing. Yeah, you know, and you can always use, you know, weird photos glued to bits of, you know, clothing and whatever with crayons and Sharpies and some kind of voodoo pins, and you can always use some of that in the bus, you know, or some cookies.
But it just has gotten to a point right now where I'm like so perfectly happy with where we're at right now as far as people buying our records, people coming to our shows, the songs we're working on, is that there's no real reason to try to hide behind kind of a you know, a fake coolness, because it's totally fake. I'm like, it's so much more liberating for me just to kind of fly my geek flag.
We're all done. It's finished. It is now for you, fair consumer. We did it for you.